Do you want to know how to change bad habits? Well, everyone needs that information. I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach all over the world about the principle of self-government, which essentially is you changing bad habits in yourself. So in this video, we're going to be talking about habits. In this video, I'm going to talk about self-government, what that is, and then how to change some of the bad habits you might be finding in yourself, or how to help other people change their bad habits. So what is self-government? I said self-government is actually one of the keys to being able to change bad habits. Well, it's totally true. Here's the definition of self-government. Self-government is being able to determine the cause and effect of any given situation and possessing a knowledge of your own behaviors so that you can control them. So what that means is that you understand cause and effect, especially as it relates to your own thoughts and behaviors. So you think to yourself, who ought I to be? Which direction ought I to head to find the most success? And then I examine myself as I journey along in that direction that I plan for myself, and I see if I actually accomplished what I wanted to, or if I went off course. And if I go off course at all, I examine that and I bring myself back on course or chart a new course if I feel like the one that I planned in the first place was not working quite like I thought I needed it to. So habits are really tricky things. People can get in the habit of doing all kinds of things. They can have a habit of picking their nose. They can have a habit of picking their teeth. They can have a habit of burping really loudly. Those are hygiene habits, right? Or they can have a habit of not making eye contact with people when they talk. They can have a habit of being late to things. They can have a habit of always thinking negative thoughts, like nobody likes me, nobody's including me. Those are all habits. And we all create habits for ourselves. Some of our habits are productive, and some of our habits are very non-productive. In fact, they can hurt us. They can hold us back. People have been studying habits for years, and I love some of the research and some of the talk about habits that are coming out in recent years. This book, Atomic Habits by James Clear, is a great read on habits. And one thing that I love about it most is that it totally relates to the stuff that I've been teaching for years about self-government. He just words things in a little bit different way. So Mr. Clear talks about how when you're going to change a habit, you need to have a new system, as well as understand your full identity. And this is totally true. So years ago, when I started teaching parenting to people, because they were asking me to, because the BBC made a movie of our family and people wanted to know how to change the children's hearts, like I did with the teens that came from the UK when they filmed The World's Strictest Parents at our home, I wrote this book called Parenting a House United, which is essentially a system for changing your own thoughts and behavior and a deliberate way to change your relationships. There are a lot of systems for changing habits in this book. That's the whole point of the book, actually. Well, after I wrote this book, I noticed that for some people there was a little bit of a hang-up. They would say to me things like, well, what if someone doesn't want to help you out? What if your child doesn't want to connect with you or do what you tell them that they need to do? And I said to them, well, that's a roles issue. They need to understand their role in the family. And specifically, if you're a child, one of your main roles is that you are a learner. You need to be learning from the teachers that are around you. And one of the main roles of parents is teacher. And so I wrote this book called Roles: The Secret to Family, Business, and Social Success. This book was designed to help people understand who they were in the family so that the systems in this book would actually work. It is important, like Mr. Clear says, that we understand who we are to each other, who we are to ourselves, and then create the systems that will help us become the best versions of ourselves. That's what self-government is all about. And that's why I teach certain skills that make a big difference. There are 4 basic skills that I teach parents to teach to children, but these 4 basic skills apply to all of us, no matter our age. They're just adult skills. Now, these children's books each teach one of the 4 basic skills. This book teaches following instructions. This one teaches accepting no answers and criticism. This one teaches accepting consequences, and this one teaches disagreeing appropriately. Now, I want you to think about it. There are some people that do not have a habit of disagreeing appropriately. If something happens that they don't like, they get irritated and mad and loud and start saying sassy things back to somebody else. That's because they don't have a skill or a system called disagreeing appropriately. Or what if something doesn't go their way? Someone cuts them off in traffic or they don't get the promotion. Do they immediately start attacking someone behind their back, talking bad about them, giving them gestures out of the car window? Well, then they're not accepting a no answer. A no answer is basically when you don't get something that you want. That could be anything. Someone could tell you no, or you could have hoped for something that didn't happen for you. Can you look at the person or situation, keep a calm face, voice, and body, say okay or ask to disagree appropriately, and then drop the subject? Well, I hope so, because if so, then you can accept a no answer. But if not, which many people can't, then you might need to develop a new system for solving your problem of not getting what it was that you wanted. So we're going to talk about how some of these bad habits are formed and then what we can do to change some of our bad habits. But before we do that, click the subscribe button now. This channel is dedicated to teaching all about self-government, which basically means habit change, helping you break free of the things you don't want to do anymore as a parent or a person, and helping your children do the same. So click the subscribe button now. So let's talk about how bad habits are formed. When a person does something the first time, that forms a connection in the brain, okay? They call it a synapse. It's a way that you solved a problem one time. And then the next time you are presented with a similar problem or circumstance, you revert back to something that you've already done before because your brain is very efficient. And so what happens is it goes back to what worked in the past. So then you do the same action or think the same thought again because this new experience reminds you of an older experience. Your brain is constantly trying to save you energy in your thought processes, and so it will bring up past experiences to make things easier for you. It does not factor in whether those past experiences are going to emotionally drain you or make your life harder going forward. It thinks it's making things easier. So soon after doing the same action again and again, it becomes automatic, and that's how you know you have a habit. When something happens automatically before you even think about it, like you squeeze the toothpaste a certain way, or you answer the phone with a certain lilt in your voice, these are all things that are habits. If you wake up in the morning and think, I need to put on my exercise clothes because I exercise before I eat my breakfast or start my day, that's a habit. It's a thought habit that leads to an action habit, and you just do it every time. But if every time the alarm goes off, you think, no, I don't want to. Well, I guess I could if I exercise. No, I'm too tired. And you debate it every single time. You are going to create a habit of debating whether you get up in the morning instead of a habit of getting up and getting going and getting in those exercise clothes every day. So that's the way habits are created. We just take these little simple actions and we can end up forming bad habits or good habits. It's all about the thought processes that are going on inside our heads. So how do we create good habits? Well, we have to change our thought processes. So what do you think when something happens the first time? Let's say you have a habit of yelling when your child does a certain thing or your spouse does a certain thing. You think of what that thing is. You know, that thing that's really annoying to you that just gets under your skin. And you might want to say, stop it or quit it. That's annoying. And you start to get a little bit hot-headed and your temper starts to flare and you're going to yell. Now, usually someone gets a feeling. For me, I get this knot in the pit of my stomach, and it's this feeling like if I just yell, my knot will go away and I will feel better. And that is actually slightly true because the anxiety creates the knot, and if I kick in the endorphins in my mind because I go into battle mentality for a minute. Then all of a sudden my brain chemicals adjust and all of that anxiety decreases too that was feeding into the pit of my stomach. But that's not the right way to handle it. And I know it's going to be bad for my relationship. So what I do is I tell myself, wait a second, if I ever feel that feeling in the pit of my stomach, I am going to close my mouth, take a little step back, and think to myself, what do I need to say here? Or think, be calm. Am I calm? This is what I did to create a calmness habit for myself years ago. I'm a really strong-willed person, quite a little spitfire actually. I could get into fights with anybody over everything, and I was very emotional. But I realized as I was doing treatment foster care that I could not teach the children just with emotions. I had to have logic and heart-to-heart connection, and that would not happen if I was coming from an emotional place, because when you're emotional, you're in a selfish state. And I recognized that. And so I decided that what I would do is when I noticed that something was happening, that I would say to myself, I would take a step back and I would say, am I calm? And if the answer was yes, then I would take a step forward and I would say exactly what it was that I knew was true at the time, and I would do it in a calm way. And I had a certain skill set that I would use during that time. But if I took that step back and I asked, am I calm? And the answer was no, then I told myself I needed to turn and go to my calm place, wherever my calm place was. And usually that was in my bedroom. I would go to my calm place and then I would do calm actions, such as sing a song or hum a song. I might say a prayer because I'm a prayerful person. And as soon as I felt like I'd gotten myself to a place of calm, then I would write out exactly what I wanted to say, and I would use that script to solve my problem. That was me creating a good habit for myself. And then I would go back to the person and I would even refer back to my notes of the script so that I would not fall back into that previous thought I had of being not calm. So instead of being angry, I trained myself to be calm. After years of doing treatment foster care, I was happy to find that there came a time where I didn't really need to go to my calm place anymore. I could just be calm on the fly. I had the skills and principles I needed. And that's one of the biggest things, is the system that you create for yourself. So many people go to church and they learn about good principles, but they don't have the system to follow through with the good principles that they want to live. Well, that's where I come in. I have the systems for creating habit transformation. If you go to teachingselfgovernment.com right now, there is a free course that I'm going to give to you. It's called the Calm Parenting Toolkit. Go to teachingselfgovernment.com, and right now on my homepage, there is a free Calm Parenting Toolkit that you can access, and that will give you 10 different tools that you can use to start creating a system for calmness for you today. Click on teachingselfgovernment.com now, and I'll see you there.